Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV. I'm your host, Patrick Vieira, and happy Father's Day wherever you may be. Just want to wish fathers out there a happy Father's Day, and always remember that you are indeed the leader of your family, whether it be financially, morally, spiritually. So it's a heavy burden, but do your best. Happy Father's Day. Once again, I'm your host, Patrick Vera. Welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV. If you are new to this channel or you have not already done so, please do subscribe. Click on the bell to be notified on new updates. And please do give us a thumbs up if you like what we do. And do remember that you can always find us on social media as well. We are at www.silverbullion.com.sg. Don't forget the SG. We're in Singapore, so .com.sg. On Facebook, we are Silver Bullion SG. On Twitter, we are at Silver Bullion PL, PL for Private Limited. And if you really feel I have a face for radio, you can find us on bit.ly, bit.ly/SBTV iTunes or SBTV Spotify, depending on your preference. So again, I'd like to say hello to everyone and thank you for being with us here this evening. Chances are this evening wherever you are. Sarah Isles, I like the music. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bully Bullion. Hi, Patrick, new listener today. Glad you can make it, Bullion. We appreciate you being here. So once again, it is Monday morning here in Singapore. It's 9:01. Just getting the day started, and typically what we like to do in the mornings is go ahead and take a look at the news. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take a look at Market Watch. And what we found in Market Watch is pretty interesting in that hang on, let me get to Market Watch. Sorry about that. Market Watch pretty interesting in that they're kind of concerned about Jay Powell, where the Fed may break a lot of stock market investors' hearts this week. So we do know that Jay Powell will be making a statement on Wednesday, and everyone has their guess as to what he will do. But as they say, the first cut is the deepest. And clamoring for a rate cut, the first in more than a decade by the Federal Reserve at some point this year, is running hot. A survey by the Wall Street Journal earlier in the week signaled that nearly 40% of economists polled by the publication expect that the U.S. Central Bank will ease monetary policy. Chief economist Joe Davis of Vanguard, which is a fund provider that manages some 5.4 trillion of wealth, speculated that an insurance, did you catch that word? An insurance rate cut by Jerome Powell's Fed could arrive as early as Wednesday at the conclusion of the central bank's two-day policy gathering that ticks off June 18th. Federal funds futures pointed to an 87% chance for a July cut and 26% chance for an easing this month as of late Friday. So Jay Powell and his rate cuts, they are on a lot of people's minds. What's also on a lot of people's minds here in Asia is, of course, what's going on in Hong Kong with the protests. Now, it is a little bit of a bigger deal than what most people are looking at it, because it does affect the economy and the markets equally, or if more so than the political component of it. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Bloomberg has to say. I fast forwarded to a little part here, 3 minutes into the clip, so I'll go ahead and play that for you.
And that is some of the market effect. Andrew, there's a wider economic effect at play here, because in many ways, Hong Kong has been a headquarter for multinationals for decades because of the strength of the legal system in Hong Kong, and in many ways because of its distance from mainland China. Now that it seems to be going towards mainland China rather faster than perhaps Hong Kong had expected, how will that affect business, the economy in Hong Kong?
It's an excellent question, given the unique location of Hong Kong as a really center of economics and finance. We've already had conversations with clients who have considered moving from Hong Kong to Singapore, delaying investments in Hong Kong for alternative areas of investment, alternative safer destinations. It really undermines the special status that Hong Kong has enjoyed for decades and has driven its growth. So
So I think that was the key point where there are safer destinations such as Singapore, and we do see some Hong Kongers who are actually looking to move assets over to Singapore, and that's part of the reason why Singapore is known as the Switzerland of Asia. A few questions. Meta Silver, hello, how you doing? Bully Billion, blessings as well. Richard, drink coffee. Yeah, I need to sneak in a few cups of coffee for sure. Sarah, do you think Singapore will benefit from a weak US dollar? That's a good question because the Singapore dollar, it operates using a basket of currencies, so we're not entirely pegged to the US dollar. But a weaker dollar would definitely mean Singapore exports would be seen as a little bit more expensive. So in that sense, it would affect Singapore. But typically, the monetary authority of Singapore, they do have things very well under control. So I don't think the weak dollar is going to affect Singapore that much. Jay Paul is is a crook. Hey folks, got my coffee. Okay, great, great. Yeah, so I mean, glad you guys are participating in the chat. But besides some of the market news that's going on, or the political news going on and whatnot, I would like to take a look at some of the news that's going on with gold and silver. So for that, what I'll do is I'll head over to our company website, which is www.silverbullion.com.sg. And what I'll do is I'll scroll down a little bit and we take a look at the gold and silver measured in US dollars right now. Just a little down. Not too bad. They're still hanging on to Friday's prices. So they're not very bad at all. Still hanging on as the markets open up in Asia. Scroll down a bit more, we see the silver gold ratio at 90.2. So again, that ratio is still right about at that 90 range, which does mean it is a time for sure to be buying. Silver might even be a time for some of you that you may want to flip your gold into silver and play the ratio. So we're seeing that ratio kind of holding steady at 90, but I don't think it's going to be at 90 come end of the week. Seriously doubt it. One thing though, if you would like to get newsletters from our company, what you can do is you can just go ahead and click on sign up, and this information sheet will pop up here where just let us know your basically your name, Mr., Mrs., and first name, last name, country of residence such as U.S., Singapore, Malaysia, uh, phone number, email, company name, currency, which is Singapore dollar, US dollar, euro. And what you can also do is, besides your name and password, your username and password, this is the important part. Well, for me at least, anyway. How did you find out about us? Go ahead and be sure to take YouTube, SBTV. That lets us know how many of you guys are actually joining us over at Silver Bullion, or interested in what we can do for you. So that's a big benefit for two of us. And be sure also, a lot of our clients, they will tick this box here where I want to receive customer notifications via encrypted, secure notification. Now, a lot of people, they do like this. And the reason being, if you do tick this, excuse me, if you do tick this checkbox, you'll receive notification emails, meaning in your email, you're just going to say you have a notification from us at Silver Bullion, and that's it, nothing more. So then what you'll do is you log into your account, and then you can see the message that we were trying to communicate with you. And the good thing about this is Gmail They can't get any data from it. Yahoo can't get any, Hotmail cannot get any data from it because we're not going through Gmail, Yahoo, any of those guys. It's just strictly on our server. So any communication between you and us stays between you and us. So moving on to some gold and silver news, we see that Kitco is saying that gold price will go up to 3,000. Let's hope so because we've heard this before. So let's hope it does. Um, the man saying it this time is Dan Oliver, who is the founder of Murmichan Capital, and he says that gold hitting 3,000 isn't just a belief; it's a monetary science. So, okay, Dan, we'll see what happens. So Dan says that the Federal Reserve has printed enough money to cause overcapacity in our economy and create a bubble that's ready to burst. I think for the most part, yeah, we know that part of it. When the bubble is happening, people don't need gold, and this is true. We do hear people saying all the time, if your investments are working, you a higher percentage in the side that's working and a smaller percentage on the side that's supposed to be your insurance. So you don't need gold when the market is going up, he says, when all your investments are paying off. You need it when the opposite happens. And so gold always does badly during a bubble. And we've seen it have a rough time since 2011. Gold does not protect you in a credit inflation, it protects you in a crash. And that is true. I think most of us who buy gold and silver, we know that there's the investment side of it. We know that there's the wealth protection side of it. And we do also know that there's the insurance side of it. And moving on, we also see that China's central bank has been purchasing more gold. Again, coming from Kitco, China's central bank remained a gold buyer during May for a sixth straight month. People's Bank of China upped its gold reserves to 61.61 million ounces in May from 61.10 million in April. It's a rise of 15.86 tons. The foreign exchange reserves also climbed 6 billion in May to 3.1, basically 3.101 trillion, according to data from the central bank. In dollar terms, China's gold reserves rose again to 79.83 billion in May from 78.35 billion in April. So China does continue to keep buying gold. Let me take a look at some of what's going on in the chat. With Flow, got my coffee. Great. I need to get mine also soon. Uh, Juggling good delivery bars and dropped one on my Thomas, come on, buddy. Juggling gold, you know how heavy those things weigh. If you can juggle that, I'll fly you to Singapore just to watch it. Okay. Currencies are a double-edged sword coming from Meta Silver. A weak dollar will make Singapore dollar strong. True, which is bad for exports. Yes. Stronger SGD dollar will make citizens happier. Yeah. Yeah. If we were importing a lot of U.S. goods, true. But I guess overall, you know what? I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. Meta Silver. Good analysis. Okay, let's see. Patrick, discuss what's Deutsche Bank just did with creating a bank. You know what? I just saw the headlines for that. I need to read into it, but I do know that they created some 50 billion euro kind of fund or something like that. I need to go back and take a look at the headlines. I'm probably wrong. Okay. So moving on. So China has been buying a lot of gold, and it's not just China. It's also Russia. And a report from In Gold We Trust recently came out that waning confidence in U.S. sends world central banks on a buying spree. Governments around the world have recently been on a gold buying spree. These countries have a tactful reason for doing so, and this reason is directly tied to the anticipation of the inevitable end of the U.S. hegemony. So a lot of people are seeing this already. Central banks are among the largest purchasers of gold so far in 2019. They have bought 145.5 tons of gold, which is more in a quarter of a year than central banks have purchased in the preceding 6 years. To put it bluntly, this figure represents a 68% increase from the year before. Last year, central banks increased their reserves by 651.5 tons compared to 375 tons in 2017. Reportedly, this is the largest net purchase of gold since 1967. And this is something that a lot of people have been reporting on, where central banks have been buying up quite a bit of gold recently. What more interesting, however, is the class. The class of countries that we find are turning to hoarding more and more gold, many of which are deemed to be adversaries of the US. As always, Russia is the largest buyer of gold. In 2018, their central bank purchased 274.3 tons of gold, but it dumped 84% of its US Treasury debts. And we will come back to why this is pretty important to take note of. Um, One more thing, when it comes to gold, some people do consider gold to be a barbarous relic, and that term still continues to move on and on and on. And James Rickards had a post where he says there's nothing new about Russian accumulation of gold, which we just took a look at. In 2009, they had 600 metric tons of gold, but today Russia has over 2,000 metric tons, a 264% increase in less than 10 years. And Russia has become the sixth largest gold power. Interesting though, the IMF is number three. Kind of makes you wonder how the IMF snuck in there to be number three, but nonetheless, Russia's gold hoard is over 25% of the US hoard, but Russia's economy is only 8% the size of the US economy. Now, that gives Russia a gold to GDP ratio of over 3 times that of the US. And while these developments are well known, the question of why Russia is accumulating so much gold has never been answered. So, James Rickards gives his opinion on this, where he says one reason is the dollar hedge. Russia is the second largest energy producer in the world. Most of that energy is sold for dollars. We all know that. And Russia can hedge a potential dollar inflation by buying gold. Another reason has to do with the avoidance of US sanctions. Gold is non digital and it doesn't move through the SWIFT system. So it's impossible for the US to freeze on interdict. And another reason Mr. Rickards proposes is that Russia has a long term plan to subvert the dollar's role as the leading global reserve currency. And it's not just Russia. I think it's a lot of countries that are looking to do that. Rickards goes on to say the Russian ruble is not positioned to be a reserve currency, but a new cryptocurrency backed by gold would be a good candidate. And who knows, this might be part part or one of the reasons why China, Russia, US adversaries are buying gold. I think we're all in agreement that the current monetary system cannot last and a new monetary system will have to come in at some point, and whether or not it's cryptocurrency remains to be seen. Whether or not it's going to be backed by gold remains to be seen. But I want to give you one more interesting point. Let me take a look at some of the chat first, and then I'll give you one more interesting idea as to what's going on with all this gold buying. Okay, where do central banks buy gold, especially that much? Well, they're not buying it from me, that's for sure. I can tell you that much. I think more or less they buy it from each other. Some buy, some sell. Some buy, some sell. That's one place. Um, IMF number three. Doesn't IMF forbid use of gold as a currency, or is that wrong? I think the IMF is creating a basket of of currencies. I think they're looking at the yen, the U.S. dollar, sterling, euro, and I think they recently, or a few years back, included the Chinese yuan, and I think they are also included gold in that basket, if I'm not mistaken. So IMF does have a value on gold. Don't ever be fooled to think that gold is not money. It still is. It still is. Uh, Golden rule, Wolflow. He who has the gold makes the rules. Tell you what, that seems to be more and more true lately, which is why I want to come into this clip from Greg Hunter again, who recently had an interview. Let me get this gentleman's name correct. He had an interview with Mr. Jet. I can't find his name right now. But it was a pretty interesting interview, and there were a few key points that were said. So again, this is from Greg Hunter, USAWatchdog.com.
Things we said in the pre-interview, I was talking to you about this, the trade negotiations, and I said, is there more to the trade negotiations than just negotiating trade? And right out of your mouth said, oh, he's negotiating the reset. Explain that.
Well, the situation on trade, the reason, ordinarily I would have been, say, a free trader and so forth and so on, but we have been completely drained of our national wealth, that is the wealth of the people, over the last 20 years, since certainly the 90s. But our trade deals have put us into this well-known $850 billion a year current account deficit. That is, we're buying more from abroad than we're selling abroad by $850 billion. In that circumstance, you cannot have sound currency. Your wealth of your country is going out the door every year, and you're getting poorer and poorer. You just don't know it yet because they're flooding the economy with new paper money. It's not paper money. I shouldn't even call it that. It is a counterfeit for money. It's only paper, and it is in fact a promissory note. Everyone thinks that debt money means we go into debt when we borrow it, or the Fed or the Treasury borrows it from the Fed, and so therefore it's a debt. No, the reason it's called a debt currency is because the Fed owes us something of value. It's a promissory note. That's why it's called a Federal Reserve note, that they say, okay, we're giving you this and we're getting something back from value, such as a piece of land, or we're getting a treasury bond or something of the sort, all of which is going to give us value, and we promise to give you equal value in due course. Well, of course, the due course never comes around until finally that value is zero, and so they wind up walking with all of the hard assets.
Until the value is zero and walking with all the hard assets. Excellent interview from Greg Hunter with Wayne Jet. Again, this is one of the reasons why we do say that gold and silver, it's not just an investment. It's your insurance, and it's something that can provide you generational wealth, being a store of value. So according to Mr. Jet, cool name by the way, according to Mr. Jet, the Fed owes us the true value of the money, what we've worked for, and the Fed, I guess, as he says, they actually control the hard assets. So we need to be getting hard assets. So sometimes, investing in stock markets and all of that is good. Yes, you can absolutely do well, but at some point it's also good to pull some of that aside and flip those paper assets over into hard assets, whether it's real estate, gold, silver, a business, or something that has a true tangible value, some asset that is truly tangible. Okay, one thing's for sure, China and Russia are buying a lot. Yeah, that is true. Absolutely true. One more part of this clip I'd like to share with you guys, because what's happening right now with the trade war, it actually could be a whole lot more than just a trade war, as these two gentlemen, Greg Hunter and Wayne Jet, explained. So I'd like you all to just take a listen to one more clip that I'd like to share with you.
Tell me about the reset. Tell me about, but let's get into the reset.
Okay.
What's Trump doing with the reset? Why is the trade really part of a financial debt reset?
because it is essential to renegotiate these trade agreements in order to get a current account balance. That is, we've got to sell as much abroad as we buy from abroad. If we are spending 850 billion more a year, then if you go to a gold currency, you've got to send them 850 billion dollars in gold every year.
Mm-hmm.
You would be broken within a year, in all reality, if you're talking real gold. So, in the circumstance of what he is doing, the reason he's gone immediately for that is that in order to have a sound currency, you've got to balance the current account balance. The current account, meaning that once we sell as much abroad as we're buying, we don't have to ship any gold out. And we can have a gold-backed currency that in effect guarantees that any person who works and gets his dollar in his pocket can get a piece of gold in his pocket. That's not just a promissory note. The same day he works, or the way it was up until 33, you could go to any bank, present your dollars, and get a gold coin.
Present your dollars and get a gold coin. Yes, there was a time when you could redeem those dollars for gold or silver. So I'd be very interested to see what you all have to say. China buying gold, Russia buying gold. What's the reasons? Trade wars. Why are we getting so stiff on trade wars? Is perhaps Trump trying to renegotiate in case there is some type of gold backing to whatever debts are involved or currencies are involved? Do you think we may be even heading into some type of a cryptocurrency backed by gold, not backed by gold? I mean, a lot of things that are going on, and it's, I'm not going to say you and I don't have control over this, because we actually do. Like I say, this is where you start moving out of some of the paper assets. So whatever happens with that paper system that we're currently in, you're going to be a bit sheltered by it once you move into hard liquid assets, again, like gold and silver. And it's not that we're trying to sell you anything. It's just that we want people to understand, that it is coming to this point already where we do need to look at insurance. You have health insurance, fire insurance, life insurance, car insurance. You need money insurance. And for that, again, we all should be looking at gold and silver, because we can't really trust central banks. We can't really trust governments much more. It's a bit unfortunate. Okay, let me get back to some questions again. Or Richard, be happy, buy gold. Yes, be happy. RG, JGJ, Pat, and guys, do you folks sell physical cobalt in Singapore? Yes. I don't want to pay VAT for it. I know you have nickel, but what about cobalt? Thanks. We do have cobalt. You know what? It's a good question. I need to check on that, because um, I'm not quite sure on the inventory of cobalt, but I do know nickel. Nickel has been moving. There's a lot of interest in nickel. So let me go back and check on that cobalt, and I'll find some way to get it back to you. Um, Let me see. I want to position myself for all weather wolf flow. Exactly. That's exactly what you need to do. And what I try to tell people is this: gold and silver is probably one of the only insurance that you can get a good percentage back. Meaning, let's say if your house never catches fire, do you get all your insurance premiums back? Do you get all your payments back? No, probably not. Gold and silver, if let's say economies somehow survive and you see other investment opportunities, gold and silver, you can sell it. And who knows, it may be up from when you bought it. It might be a little bit down from when you bought it, but chances are you're going to get a good percentage back of what you paid for your gold and silver. Which comes to spreads, which I'm going to talk to you about in a bit. We'll be talking about spreads, but with all of these things, I think I think consensus will say that it's very difficult to trust governments at this point. Hola, Pablo. And we had an interview with Giant, which looks like a lot of you folks picked up on and you watched. But for the benefit of those of you who didn't, uh, Giant had some very interesting and choice words to say, and I'll go ahead and roll that for you.
Well, you can't really trust governments anymore, Patrick. You should have never trusted your governments. Governments around the world are becoming very leftist. They are under huge democratic pressures. United States, which is where I am today, United States is among the most free market economies in the world. But as you can see, what is happening in the US is rapidly becoming a leftist country. You know that the Congress is already in the hands of the left, and there are some extremely leftist elements in that emerging part of the Congress. So when the left does not respect private property, they do not respect capital and wealth. So eventually, you should no longer be trusting your banking system in most countries.
Okay, Giant, can we trust the government and our politicians becoming self-serving, or are they serving us? I think those were, two pretty key points that Giant talked about. So, with this question and answer segment, I'll start by saying, can we trust government? No. There was a time where we could trust the government, but today, no. I'd have to say no, and I'm not going to say it's because of Donald Trump. It goes way before Trump. I mean, people say they can't trust Trump. It's difficult to trust Obama. It was difficult to trust baby Bush or Bush too. It was difficult to trust Clinton. Any of these guys, extremely difficult to trust at this point. There has always been some ulterior motive or some other agenda that is always happening in the background that you and I are not privy to. Politicians, self-serving or serving us, self-serving, without a doubt, self-serving. And this is a product of when you don't have term limits, when politicians can stay in office for longer than the sitting president can. You're going to have problems. And we are seeing these problems coming to fruition today. I mean, you cannot have somebody sitting in there 10, 20, 30 years. That person is going to have more power, more connections than a sitting president. And I think term limits are something we are definitely going to have to take a look at as far as US. Other people, they do say maybe US should become a parliamentary type government. Don't know. I'm not sure if the country would be willing to make such a move, but there are some who feel a parliament is the way as well. So can't discredit that. Um, let's see. Pablo Pina, Pink Floyd song where he asks his mother, "Can I trust the government?" You don't think politicians they have their out? They have a way out. A lot better ways than we have out again, which is why one of the better things we can do is to really understand the value of gold and silver. We really need to understand the value of it. But John, he did have another interesting thing to say. I'll go ahead and roll that for you as well.
Well, I don't see why government should force people to go cashless. If people prefer to be cashless, it's their choice. But forcing people to become cashless so that government can control what people own is an extremely immoral way to run a society. And it leads to immorality increasing in any society, dysfunctionality increasing in every society. And you actually see that this top down attempt to control society means that a lot of big institutions in the West no longer work. I doubt if the US is any more capable of building another Hoover Dam, for example, because they have destroyed this spirit of people in many ways. So no, governments have no reason to force people to go cashless, and there's no reason for them to force people to go cashless just for the sake of increasing tax collection.
Okay, Giant, spilling it all, laying it all out on the table. Is going cashless better for us or not? And who benefits? So again, I'll pose this question to you guys, and I'll start by answering it first. Is going cashless better for us or not, and who benefits? My own opinion, I don't like cashless at all. I do not like cashless. I think once you lose your cash, you lose a little bit of your freedom to choose. And the reason why I say that is because let's say I know there's a big push for cryptocurrencies and blockchain. Now again, this is my personal opinion. This push, I think, essentially is going to lead us away from cash, where everything is going to be on the blockchain. Your account's going to be on the blockchain. You're going to have some type of cryptocurrency that's all accounted for on the blockchain. A government or a central bank is going to be the miner because every transaction that's made is instant tax collection for them. So I do think, we are headed towards that way. It benefits, again, the governments. It benefits the person who's actually creating or person who's creating that cryptocurrency. But the problem I have with it is, let's say if you're a smoker, okay, or let me back up. Let's say insurance companies lobby Congress, which they do. We know they do. And they go and they say, hey, you know what? We're paying way too much money for lung cancer. Insurance policies are going through the roof. I think we need to limit how much cigarettes people can smoke. So what happens is now, because you don't have cash, you go into a 7-Eleven, you show them your ID card, retina scan, whatever it is. You try to buy that pack of cigarettes, and the clerk gets a message saying, no, sorry, this person cannot buy cigarettes. He's allowed only 2 packs a month or whatever it is. Now you don't have cash, so you can't go ahead and buy it. Or let's say it's a soft drink. Maybe you have diabetes. You get flagged. Oh, sorry, you can't buy this soda because you're not supposed to have it. You have diabetes, and it's all because, again, insurance companies lobby that, let's say, certain people who have, or let's say certain diseases, they are limited on what they can buy. So I do think, with the blockchain, it opens up the door for these things to happen. On the plus side, okay, I would assume it's going to lessen the chance of drug dealers being able to do their things, for money launderers to do their things. And I think this is the arguments governments are going to come out with to get you to sign on with going cashless. But again, this is just my opinion. I mean, I don't smoke, but if I did, I I'd like to smoke as much as I want to smoke. I mean, if I drink soda, I'd like to drink as much soda as I want. If I have a car, I don't want to be limited on how much gas I can buy a month. I go and pay gas, and hey, sorry, sir, you've reached your limit. You're only allowed X amount of gallons per gas or liters of gas per month. Anything over that, you have to pay more. So I think this is what ends up happening with the cashless system and everything being documented on the blockchain. But on the positive side, okay, yeah, drug dealers may be out of business. Um, Money launderers are going to find it a bit harder. So it does have two sides. It's just that for me, I tend to go on the side of personal choices, personal freedoms. But that's just my opinion. So again, looking at some of the questions, Wolflow, options are important. Options are always important. You need to have options. Otherwise, we will all end up being conformists to what the government wants. We will have things slowly being infringed upon, and we will live a life in a box, and that's it. I don't know if we really want that life. Um, Cash should stay. It is still being printed by Treasury. You know, cash should stay, but the thing is, if the Fed or the Treasury decides to go cashless and just mine their own Fed coin, then cash can be phased out. I would think pretty quickly. So I'm not so sure that cash has to stay. I think the world is moving towards a cashless society, cashless economies. Uh, Most people give up their freedom for convenience, though. Will float. Absolutely. We're seeing that today. A lot of people are giving up their freedoms for convenience. Um, let's see. Meta Silver to Pablo Pina, think about it. No risk of being robbed and no time wasted going to banks to make deposits. Meta Silver, that is true. Like I was saying, there is a positive side to it as well. Uh, but having said that, it all boils down to, do you trust the government? Because once we go there with this cashless economies, there's no going back. And if we cannot trust the governments today, I'm not sure we'd be able to trust them tomorrow when we don't have options to choose. So I think it's a very, very delicate situation here, and we need to make the right choices, not for us, but for our grandchildren down the line, their grandchildren down the line, because things are going to change. Um, Richard, there goes your liberty. It could very well. Uh, Tim C, too much money in health insurance. They want us to have health issues. Okay, well that's a different viewpoint. Um, okay, I'll have to think about that one, but it's a good point. I wouldn't go to a doctor if I had something actually wrong with me. Okay, doctors do good. I'd say most of the time doctors are okay. Chewing gum is banned in Singapore. Mm, Actually, you can chew gum, but no one's allowed to sell it. So if you already had it and you were chewing it, I think for the most part you're okay. But yeah, you can't buy gum. Richard, cash is king. Okay, hang on. Let me put the chat box back up so we can see. Sorry about that, guys. Meta Silver, maybe hacked. Shane Clements, cashless equals two class societies, lots of peasants and very few overlords. Okay, yeah, that's a good point too. That comes to the part of the question where who benefits. Society benefits in a sense where it's more convenient, where money launderers, it will be more difficult for them to operate. Um, but very few over. That's the thing. Who does it benefit more? Does it benefit us or does it benefit government to be cashless? And again, even before that, the preceding question should be: can you trust the government if we do go cashless? So that's going to be a bit of an issue that we're all gonna have to decide on. Gold is king. Let me see. Chewing gum is okay. So I think we're more or less caught up with the questions here. So appreciate that. But I do appreciate all of you chiming in and giving your opinions, because the more opinions we have, the better decisions that we can all make. So again, that's a good thing, seeing all of these questions coming out. Meta Silver, when is Jimmy Rickards coming on the show? Hey, thanks for asking. I tell you what, if we can get 8,000 subscribers, we'll get him on. We will absolutely nail down the dates and get him on. So be sure be sure to subscribe so we can get those numbers up. Click on the bell to be notified on updates. And again, if you like what we're doing, do give us a thumbs up. But if we can reach that 8,000 mark, I'm sure we will get Jim on. And I tell you what, if we do get him on, I'm gonna send a message out through the community where just let us know the questions that you like to ask for Jim, and if we can sneak them in the interview, we'll try and sneak them into the interview and get your questions asked. So let's make it a little bit of a team effort here. Help us out, and we'll see if we can get Jim to answer a few of your questions. Okay, I'm confused too. I'm 3. Do you believe in the milkshake theory? Well, it makes sense to a point, but I don't know if we've actually reached that peak dollar yet. So I don't know. I think Brent probably does expect it to go up much higher. I'm not going to argue with him. He's a smart guy. But if you if you ever follow Brent on Twitter, go ahead and follow Brent Johnson. I think he's Santiago Capital on Twitter, and follow Luke Groman, who's another gentleman that we had the privilege to interview. Follow these two guys on Twitter, Brent Johnson and Luke Groman. Every now and then they have a little debate going on Twitter. Luke more or less feels milkshake theory is we're already there more or less. Brent Johnson feels milkshake theory is still going to happen. I mean, they do think very similarly. I think it's more or less on the dollar if it gets stronger or weaker. But if you follow these two guys on Twitter, I tell you what, it's a lot of fun. I mean, they go after each other, but in a cordial, funny way. And I think these two guys know that, so they handle it pretty well, and it's to our benefit. So Luke Groman and Brent Johnson, follow them on Twitter. Chewing gum. Oh, we're still on chewing gum, huh? Okay. What future ratio do you predict for gold and silver? I do expect it to go back down from 90. I don't think it can stay at 90 for a overextended period of time. I for sure I'd say by getting into summer, July, August, I think it'll have to be back below that 90 ratio. But for now, I would say take advantage of it. I know a lot of us are tempted to buy gold. We see the gold price, just starting to run away a little bit. And, we get that little bit of FOMO going on, fear of missing out. And we feel, hey, I better go and grab that gold. The gold's going up. But when you look at the ratio says, no, don't get gold. It's still time for silver. So, it's a bit of an internal dilemma. And I did see a few of your questions and comments in the community groups and whatnot where, do you think should be buying gold because silver is not doing much? I'm still at silver. I still say buy silver. That's just my opinion. Don't hold me to that. I don't want any of you guys to, hey, he said, get to. But for me personally, I'm still definitely looking at silver. Speaking of silver, one other thing I had asked you guys was if you ever had to sell your silver in a community chat. Um, I know there's times where we buy gold, we buy silver, and then there's times where emergencies pop up, and then we have to go and sell it. We have to go and sell our silver, sell some gold just to get through a certain amount of time. And a lot of times it's just a short period of time that we need to get through. But in that short period of time, we had to sell off or pawn some of our gold or silver. So I was just curious if that's happened to you. I know it's happened to me where I've had to do that. And because I've had to do that, I want to share something with you folks. When you do buy precious metals, try to buy items that have smaller spreads. Okay, you want things that have smaller spreads. And I'll go ahead and show you what I mean. Okay, I'll take you over to our website again, www.silverbullion.com.sg. And what you would do is just go down to precious metals and maybe let's just take a look at silver bars. Okay. Now remember, the object is to buy things with the smaller spread. Okay. So if we take a look at a common item, let's say a 100-ounce bar. Okay. So we click on a 100-ounce bar. We scroll down and we have it all there for you where we will tell you that the spread is 7.3%. What that spread is, it's a difference between what you bought it at and what we will buy it from you if you sell it to us. Okay, that's the spread. What you bought something at and what you're selling it at, or what we would buy it at from you. So in this case, there's a 7.3% difference, or roughly 114 US dollars. Now 114 US dollars on a 100-ounce bar is roughly $1.14. So you would need that silver to move roughly $1.14. If my math is right, I haven't had my coffee, I could be wrong. But keep in mind the 7.3%. Now, if we look at another popular item, let's say a lot of people, they like to buy 10-ounce bars. So if we take a look at a Royal Canadian Mint 10-ounce bar, we scroll down a bit. and we see that the spread is $12.38%, which is significantly higher than the 7.6%. What this basically means is if you buy this 10-ounce bar, you would need silver to move significantly more in order for you to break even than if you were to have bought a 100-ounce bar, which you would just need silver to basically half or almost somewhere around half. So when you buy your gold and silver, what I'm trying to say is make sure you know the spread. Okay. And that's simply whatever you bought it at and whatever you're selling it at. So that selling number, all bullion dealers, they should be letting you know what they buy items back at. And so again, to take another look at it, for us, if you are tier one, meaning someone who's just starting off, if they bought it for 166 USD, we would buy it back from them at 145. So that's what the spread is. Sellback generally, well, it will always be lower than the price we sell to you. A bullion dealer cannot sell something to you for $100 and be buying it back from you for 110. Otherwise, you and me, we're gonna stay there all day long. You're gonna buy it, sell it back, pocket your $10, buy it again, sell it back, pocket your $10. So the sell back, when you sell it back to a bullion dealer, it's always going to be less than what you bought it at, and that's why you want to check the spreads to see what's the difference between the two. So here we have about a $20 difference. So basically, yeah, you would need. It's not too bad. Just to say that the spread is a lot less on, let's say, an item like a 100-ounce bar. So again, let me check that real quick. Um, so this one here, you would buy it at 1561 and you could sell it to us at 1447. So slightly about a little bit over $100 or so, which equates to slightly over a dollar movement for the silver price to have to move before you'd break even, which is a better spread than if you were to buy a 10-ounce bar. The trade-off, 10-ounce bars, yes, they're easier to buy. They're easier on the wallet, easier to buy, but you would need silver movement to move further than if you were to buy a bigger bar, which might be a little bit harder on the wallet for some, but the trade-off is you don't need silver to move as much. So make sure when you're buying your gold and silver, like I said, you want to get the best spread you can, because if those times do come where emergencies pop up and you need to sell off some of your gold or silver to handle those emergencies, medical emergency, whatever it may be, you don't want to lose too much, and you won't lose too much if you buy looking at the spreads. So keep that in mind. That's a little tip from bullion dealers. Try to buy items with smaller spreads. If you do that, I think for the most part you're going to be okay when those emergencies do pop up. Okay, 100-ounce bars tend to be less liquid. Thomas, you know what? Respectfully, I'd have to disagree somewhat, mainly because it depends on your dealer. For us, for a lot of dealers, for that matter, there's no problem to buy back 100-ounce bars, LBMA bars, 1,000-ounce bars. It's not an issue. Those can be easily handled. So I would not say 100-ounce bars are less liquid. That I'd still put them in the liquid category. 100-ounce, 10-ounce, 1 ounce, any of those, I'd still consider it to be very, very liquid. You would be okay. I know there's a little bit of chit chat going on about that because guys like let's say, what's his name again? Bill Holter. Sorry, Bill Holter. I know he's been putting out some. He's been putting out the word that 100 ounces is not liquid. I'm going to have to disagree and say that's not the case. 100 ounces is still very liquid. It's still in the a liquid range. You wouldn't have a problem. But that is good to know, because if you try to walk in to your bullion dealer, in a pretty dicey scenario, and you're holding 1,000-ounce LBMA bar, yeah, you're gonna get some eyes looking at you strangely. That's for sure. Uh, don't get me wrong, we hold 100-ounce bars, but they are longer term investments. It, you know what? I'm going to say again. It depends on on where you're at. Really, truly, it does. So if you feel your area 100 ounce is reaching the limit, then okay, stick with it. But if you feel like, let's say here in Singapore, it's probably we're looking at already the 1,000-ounce bars. Even those, I think in Singapore, it's all very liquid still. There's not a problem with any size, any quantity. Um, Paul Hunt, no need to sell bullion for your customers using peer-to-peer loans backed by bullion holding. Yeah, you know that was going to be the one of the next things. If you can, if you folks still are up, one of the next things I wanted to talk to you folks about is that you don't always have to sell or pawn your items. You could even take out a loan. Again, on our website, www.silverbullion.com, if you come to this area, P2P loans, and you go down and you click on market, what you're going to see here is, let's say if somebody just needed money for a month, I'll go to USD. Let's say if someone needed money for, let me, sorry guys, hang on. Okay, let's say a year. Okay, because we actually, this is actual. This is for real. This is real. So somebody in Sing dollars anyway, they're asking if they can borrow 5,000 Singapore dollars at 2.25% per annum. Okay, so they're asking, what they're saying is, I need a loan for 5,000. Can anyone give it to me at 2.25%? So this here on the green side, this is the borrower. I shouldn't say you. This is the borrower. He sets terms that he would like to borrow at. Collateral 204%. What that means basically is he has 10,000 in silver or gold. He has 10,000 in metal that he is using as collateral to get that $5,000 loan. Now, on the other side, we have people who are willing to lend. Like this first one here, he's willing to lend 5,000 at 3%. So he's fairly close. The borrower is asking for 2.25. This guy is saying he can give at 3%. So they're very, very close. They might end up making a deal. Now, very important to note, we are just a platform. The money that is lent does not come from us. It comes from, it's a peer-to-peer system. This comes from another party. It's not us. So it's the borrower, which is not us, making a deal with a lender, which is not us. We are just the platform because we have the gold and the silver, which can be used as collateral. So that's where we come in. Okay, so this guy, he's saying, hey, I can make a loan, 5,000 at 3%. Partial fill means you don't need to take the whole amount. Maybe if you just wanted 3,000, he'd still be willing to loan you 3,000 of that 5,000 at 3% interest, which is pretty good. It's not too bad. So what happens is if these two guys, if they agree, then they'll go into a contract, and this person will have 1 month to pay back that loan plus the interest. There's no monthly payment. No monthly payment at all. You just wait out the year, let the year go through, and then you go ahead and repay at 1 year. No one's ever really defaulted on this. Lenders, they've always gotten their money back. Borrowers, if borrowers get into a little bit of a rough time, there's always things that can be done to help the borrowers. So I'm going to say it's a very, very safe system. And it's something where, again, for people storing with us, they don't have to sell their gold or silver anymore. They can just take out a loan against it and go ahead and redeploy their funds, invest in something else if they want, buy more silver if they want, because the ratio is down right now. So it's something where instead of just letting your gold and silver collect dust and sit at home in a safe or in some other vault that it's not doing anything, we can help you put it back to work for you if you need it to. So that was also in part why I had asked that question, if you ever had to sell, because there are other solutions. Okay, so let's go back and see what you all are saying. Um, I hear US people say buy eagles because of confiscation, but I heard you are better off holding foreign coins because of sovereignty issues. Fritz, you know what? I um I think any sovereign coin is good because you're always going to have that government certification or guarantee of sorts. Uh, but I think for US, I think it's always safer with the Eagles, and I'm going to say mainly because if you, I've seen this before. Let's say on other channels like Mark Dice, where um, he would ask people, maybe it's a Canadian gold, a US gold, or whatever it is. Even though they're the same value, same amount, a lot of people in the US may think because it's a foreign coin, it's worth less. It's worth a little bit less. So we have to think of the people that we're going to come into contact with. If you always keep a US coin and you're in the US, I think chances are you're going to be better off than if you try to give someone a Philharmonic in the US. I think the average person may not know what a Philharmonic is, much less try to understand what a silver eagle is. So I think, depending on where you're at, that particular sovereign coin in that particular country would probably be the better option. Just saying that's my opinion. Um, let's see. It's not because of confidence. Okay. Would you rather claim $20 or 20 ounces? Take the 20 ounces, of course, right? But yeah, that's one of the things that Mark Dice had done, which was pretty interesting. Um, let's see. JM Carp 98. The bullion industry in Singapore is considered young. I'd have to agree. But it has leveled up so fast in the last 10 years. I'd have to agree also. Prices are competitive. Dealers' prices, all online. Gold and silver are very liquid. Yeah, yeah. Those are all true. Yeah, I need a cup of coffee because that actually came from me, huh? Okay. All right. Coffee, please. No, just kidding. Meta Silver. That's actually from Vincent's helping me out on the chat here because I noticed it's hard for me to get in touch or respond to all of you. So Vincent he'll man the chat from time to time. So Vincent, appreciate it. I guess I read what you wrote, huh? Okay. Uh, Meta Silver. I'm not hating cryptos, but having an option for those who choose cash and others crypto for as investment diversifying. But yeah, crypto you can't really deny crypto. It's been doing very very well. If I pull up a chart on it real quick, um, Bitcoin. I think it cracked 9,000 again. Yeah, it did, and it's still going. Before the weekend, it was still down in the mid 8,000s, I believe, and it's already cracked over 9,000. So it's on a bit of a tear again. Um, it's speculation. I mean, if you want to speculate and go into the market, speculate with crypto, you almost have to at this point. Now, I'm not going to say whether it's money or not. I'm not going to say whether it's a store of value or not. I'm just going to say if it's something that you do want to do some speculation with. Yeah, you crypto is something you'd have to definitely take a look at. So it's up there and it's doing pretty well. Some more chat. Let's see. For small transactions, Americans are partial to genuine old U.S. silver dollars. They command a small premium. Thomas, you know what? I agree. I think what you're really going to have to do is break out that junk silver. Where I do agree with Bill Holter is if you have those smaller dimes, even quarters, half dollars. I think if you have those, you're going to find it very, very, very helpful. If ever that day should come where things are getting dicey. So junk silver, you know, I think it should be a part of everybody's silver collection. You should have your bullion, you should have your junk silver. That without a doubt. Let's see. If a Canadian customer were to hold a silver or gold in a Singapore vault, would it be considered direct ownership? It's completely yours. What we would end up doing is we would help you transfer it in if you wanted to transfer in, and then what we're going to do is test it. We're going to make sure it's legit. We're going to make sure it's genuine, because anything that comes into the vault has to be real. And part of the reason for that is because of the peer-to-peer lending. Because if there comes a time where you transferred your things in and then you want to take out a loan against it, we have to 100% be sure that what you gave us was real. So that's the reason why when people do transfer, we do have to go ahead and test it. Another option is for people, they will sell their items locally. Again, why I say make sure you get a good spread, a low spread. They will sell locally. And what will happen is they will take that money from their sale and rebuy in Singapore. So that way there's no shipping, none of those things. Just buy it directly from us. No need to test it, because it's already, I mean, you don't need to test it on a transfer in, because we've already done that. And then what we'll do is we will simply put it in what we call a tamper evident parcel. Think of it like it's your own. It's like a small enclosed a bag of sorts. I don't want to use that word, but it's sealed and it's yours, and that thing will never become our inventory again, not unless, let's say, you want to sell it to us. And the good thing is, like I say, it's there for you. If you want to take out a loan against it and reinvest, absolutely, you can do that. If you want to sell it to us, because it's all tested, we know it's legit, you can easily sell it back to us, and we will wire the money to your account back in Canada, if that's where you are. So it's a very, very simple process, and we try to keep it simple, because one thing we always have to we're very, very strict on, and it's how we operate, is whatever is yours. We don't go into it. We don't I'll say there are bullion dealers who, let's say, if you bought 5 monster boxes, okay, and they go ahead and put it in the vault, this is John Doe's 5 monster boxes, and then another customer says, I want 2 monster boxes, and let's say that bullion dealer is out of inventory, he's going to go into John Doe's area, pull out those 2 monster boxes and sell it to some other guy, and probably not replace it until John Doe comes and says, I want to take delivery of my stuff, of my gold, of my silver. For us, we cannot operate that way, because, like I said, everything goes in tamper evident parcels. Everything goes in cages. Once it's there, it's there. We cannot pull it back out into inventory. And this is especially things like coins, because there's nothing to identify your coin from my coin, which is why we will seal up all those monster boxes, and that's it. We do not use it. Some bullion dealers, they will, and sad to say, you will never know until you go in and actually want to take delivery. So it's one of the ways we operate different from the other guys. It's something we will not do, and our system is built in such a way that we cannot do that anyway. And guys who have been to the vault, you know that to be true. You can't or we cannot take your things, put it back into inventory and sell it to someone else. We can't do it. It's impossible for us to do with the system that we've built. It has to go through layers of people and certain processes. So it's just out of the realm of any. We can't do it. It's as simple as that. Um, Wear waves. Thank you, sir. I was also thinking more on the lines if my government would consider the bullion owned by me directly or by the vault. It's owned by you. Um, yeah, as we mentioned, it's if it's yours, it's yours. It's as simple as that. We don't take any claim to it or anything. All we do is make sure it's there, make sure it's safe. If you want to take a loan against it, you can. If you want to sell it for money, we will facilitate that for you. If you want to come down and withdraw it and take it, absolutely, we can go ahead and let you into the vault and take it. Or yeah, I think I'm not sure if we'd actually let you in the vault, but sorry about that. But you could take it. And but if you do want to go into the vault, we can also arrange a vault tour. So let me rephrase it that way. So I would suggest if you want to take it out, ask for a vault tour at the same time. And then you will absolutely be allowed in. You can see the vault, you can see where your things were, how it was kept, and you will know 100% that there was no way that we could put it back into inventory. So rest assured, it's we don't operate in a shady way at all. We keep things on the up and up. Okay. The guy hears that ring on his desk or magical effect. Okay. Fritz Bender, will the Facebook coin destroy competition? You know what? I think Peter Schiff came out, just comically saying how the Facebook coin crypto was gonna mess up Bitcoin, and what happened? Bitcoin just shot up, right? So I'm maybe it's too early to call, but I personally would not really go along with anything Facebook does. I find them a bit too rogue. I'm not a fan of Facebook anymore. Once upon a time, yes. Now, no. Uh, Patrick, what is the loan from Pablo? What is the loan ratio? Say I have 10 ounce of gold. You lend the amount of the value of the 10 ounce of the gold at the moment. Uh, Pablo, yes, it would be at that moment that you needed to take the loan value. For gold, if it's just say a 1 month loan that you need, I think we'll value the gold at 62.5%. We'll give you a little bit of a higher value because it's a shorter term and because gold's a bit more stable, so we have more flexibility with it. And even though I say we, again, I just want to be clear that it's not us that funds it. It's actually other clients or other guys who store with us who actually put out the loan offers. So let me get back to that page. So let me see if I can click on another one. So yeah, I mean, but just to be clear, it's not us that makes the loans. We are definitely not any type of financial institution, so you would not need to be concerned with those things at all. Uh, but if we look at a 1 month borrowing request, we see guys they like it relatively low. Hang on, let me switch over to that for you real quick. So if we're looking at the okay, so I'll go back to P2P loans and market. So this is where you'll see all the lending offers and people who are actually interested to make a loan and people who are interested to create a loan. So if we look at 1 month borrowing request again, you guys are asking anywhere from 1.75 annum all the way up to 2.25. They're willing to give and some fairly large numbers. This person wants 108,000 Sing dollars. He wants to borrow for 1 month at 1.75. Not sure if there's any lender who will agree to go that low, but on the lending side, we have people who can absolutely match what he's asking for. 192,000, 100,000, 100,000, 2.75. This guy's 1.75. So either he will have to come up or the borrower has to come up or this lender may have to go down a bit. But I think chances are they will find a match. And I think that loan will eventually go into contract, that 1 month loan for 108,000. So his items were valued at today's price. At the time when he made the loan, they were valued at that price, and that's where the valuation came from. So if he had if it's 50% valuation, let's say for silver, then he would need right now at 108,000. He would need quite a bit more. But this one, it's at 160% collateral, so it's about 1.5 times that $108,000 amount. So again, I think this guy will eventually get there. But the point being, again, once it's being stored, with us, you can go ahead and use it and put it back to work for you. It doesn't have to just sit there. So, like I say, family emergency, maybe graduation, gift, holiday, trip, whatever it is, you can go ahead and use your silver, your gold to take care of that for you. Okay, going back to live chat. Okay, Waves, appreciate the link and yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome because it doesn't have to be gold and silver. Do not have to be assets that just sit there. They can absolutely be very very useful to you in more ways than one. And especially in a place like Singapore or Asia for that matter, um, economically it's doing very well, and there is the means for people to loan against to make a secure loan with people who actually have an asset, meaning the gold and the silver. So it's a good match. It's good for people who have gold and silver; they can put it back to work, and it's a good match for people if they do have a little bit of extra cash. Maybe they want to lend and earn a bit of interest on it. So it's a system that can work all the way around. Uh, do depositors collect interest? Oh, the interest is already set. Where again, if you look, hang on, let me go back to that page again. The interest is already set where if you hang on, you set your own interest and the lender sets his own interest. So in this case, this person set an interest at 2.25. He'd like the loan at 2.25. These people, they're willing to lend at 2.5, 2.75. So it's already built in and it's set by you. You decide what interest rate you're okay offering or lending. Okay. Okay. So I think we're caught up with the questions, which is good, and I know it's getting late there, but next week or later on this week, I believe it's going to be Wednesday night. We're going to have Brian Lenny, and Brian Lenny he comes from he he operates Junior Stock Review, and he's into gold. He's into other metals such as nickel. But I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of a peek at what's coming up next week or later on this week. What impact do you think that fiat event is going to have on the impact of gold?
Um, well, there's definitely a price to pay for low interest rates and the money printing that we've done. Um, it's hard to say how that plays out. Like, I really have no idea. There's probably smarter people than I that give a better comment on that. But in saying that, I do see higher gold prices in the future. And when it comes down to it, the world economic powers are going to have to come together and I think have to reset the system. So it's anyone's guess where that kind of goes. I think one guy or I would in particular listen to is maybe James Rickards. Take some of the stuff that he says fairly seriously. But in the end, no one truly knows what's going to happen, and that's why I hold some gold as an insurance policy.
Okay, so Brian Lenny, he does talk about gold as an insurance policy and he backs it up because he actually does hold gold. One more metal he's looking at is nickel. Nickel is something that is starting to get a lot of blips on people's radar, but we'll listen to what Brian has to say about nickel and why.
Personally, I see the battery sector demand for nickel moving higher in the coming years. It isn't just EVs which are spurring the battery demand, but you can see whether it's construction, garden tools, everything is moving towards battery power. And you don't really lose anything in the capability. It just becomes more convenient. So I think that convenience is something that is only going to grow over time. Will it take away from the stainless steel? I'm bullish on stainless steel too. Coming from the steel market, I can tell you that construction regulations are only going higher. And what does this mean? It means stronger steel. It means longer lasting steel. And how do you do that? Well, you can do some surface treatments, you can do galvanizing and these sort of things, but they're just surface. If you nick that where the galvanizing wears over time, or if it's epoxy, you nick that epoxy and it cracks, and you rust out that rebar inside it. So a lot of these, especially in the southern states, just before I left my job at the steel plant, these southern states, so we're talking about Florida, Carolinas, Louisiana, they were coming to our plants and for stronger steel, longer last steel, and essentially what they were asking for was basically a stainless. So what I'm trying to say is, I think aesthetically, whether it's in your kitchen or your home goods, or if it's for longer lasting construction, I think the movement is towards stainless steel. And I only see that growing. And I think that's where the real interesting part about nickel comes, is because I don't see that slowing down. And therefore, if you've got a bump up in the EVs, which I think is only a matter of time, I think it's the recipe for higher nickel prices.
So there you go, recipe for higher nickel prices. That's something that we are taking a look at too. Nickel, it does play two sides on the construction with the pig iron stainless steel, and along with electric vehicle batteries, or EV batteries for short. One more thing, guys, I'm gonna be closing up soon, but if you can, I need your help with this. I want to start taking a look at YouTubers that you folks follow. For myself, I have Greg Hunter. We follow him. Peter Schiff, Silver Doctors, Rethinking the Dollar, Kitco. So if you guys, and I have a lot of blank spaces, so if you guys have any suggestions or people that you follow on YouTube, do let us know, and then we'll go ahead and populate them on our little stream deck, so we can all be consistent or up to date, or in the same space as far as news goes, so we can get better opinions on it. But again, I do thank you all for being here. Happy Father's Day. Brian Lenny coming up at should be somewhere around 10 p.m. Wednesday night Eastern Standard Time. And again, if we can get to 8,000 subscribers, I think we are going to be able to nail down James Rickards. And if we do, we are going to send out a message to the community group for you guys to go ahead and ask questions. I think it'll be an awesome team effort if we can do that. So again, I'll be wrapping it up. You guys take care. You have yourselves a good work week ahead. Hang on, let me just get this. Have yourselves a good work week ahead, and take care of each other. Be a blessing, not a burden. We're all in this boat together. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you again soon.